Farmers are the true gatekeepers of the wild. They know the silhouette of every coyote and the gait of every bear. But what happens when the predator in the barn has a face that looks like yours? In this episode, we leave the safety of the city to witness the impossible. We will see a human-faced beast pinned down in the Texas dust and a massive Bigfoot patrolling a chicken coop like he owns it. We will examine the biological nightmare of a two-headed calf and the bone-breaking footage of a man twisting into a dog on a public street. These aren't just campfire stories anymore. They are evidence. The three-eyed dogman of Black Forest. Chilling body cam footage recently leaked from the Black Forest of Pennsylvania, a region notorious for unexplained disappearances. In the desolate autumn woods, the shaky camera reveals a scene that defies all biological logic. A local farmer is being overpowered by a mutated dominant dogman. This entity possesses a massive frame covered in matted dark brown fur. The most shocking detail is its face. It has 3 piercing yellow eyes, with the third eye positioned ominously in the center of its forehead. As it roars, its crimson maw reveals 3 long, slimy tongues wrapping tightly around the victim's neck. The companion, hands trembling, raises a shotgun to save his friend. But a hollow click-click echoes the gun is out of ammo. Utter helplessness fills the air as the dogman casts a look of pure contempt, shamelessly enjoying the human's terror. Without hesitation, the beast tightens its grip and drags the struggling farmer into the thick fog of the Black Forest, leaving the sole witness paralyzed in fear. Is this a new species dominating the wilderness? Farmers wrestle human-faced creature in Texas. In the desolate ranchlands of Odessa, Texas, the darkness hides many predators, but usually they are just coyotes. This footage, however, captures a confrontation that defies all evolutionary logic. It begins in absolute chaos, shaky flashlight beams cutting through the dust, the shouting of terrified men, and the snarling of a beast that sounds distressingly vocal. A group of local farmers has managed to corner a creature that has been harassing their livestock. At first glance, the biology seems canine, 4 legs a tail, and a malnourished frame covered in patchy mange-ridden fur. But as the camera stabilizes, the anatomy shifts into pure nightmare fuel. The creature possesses long matted dark hair like a human woman's whipping around its head. Worse is the face. It lacks a snout. Instead, it reveals a flat, pale humanoid visage with wide, panicked eyes and a grimace of rage. The farmer, holding it, uses his full weight, but the entity displays unnatural, hysterical strength. With a violent twist of its spine, it throws the man off balance. It doesn't bark, it screams. As it scrambles up and bolts into the brush, its gait is wrong-loping and heavy. The men are left freezing in the dust, realizing they didn't catch a predator. They caught something that might have once been, or is trying to be, one of us. Massive Bigfoot filmed inside chicken coop on rural farm. Most security cameras on livestock farms are installed to catch foxes, coyotes, or desperate thieves, scavengers that skulk in the shadows and flee at the first sign of trouble. But the footage captured on this rural property reveals an intruder that possesses absolutely no concept of fear. The timestamp indicates it is deep into the night, yet the figure moving through the enclosure does not crouch, hide, or run. It strolls. The entity stands fully upright, towering over the scattering birds with a physique that is terrifyingly distinct. Even in the grainy monochrome of the night vision camera, you can see massive, sloping shoulders and a back that ripples with dense, corded muscle beneath a thick coat of dark hair. This is not the anatomy of a starving bear or a human thief. The proportions, specifically the elongated arms and the sheer width of the torso, suggest something far more primal. It walks with a heavy, deliberate stride, swinging its limbs with the casual arrogance of an apex predator that knows it has no natural enemies. It ignores the chickens completely. It ignores the fences. It simply walks a straight path through the property as if it owns the land. Skeptics will immediately claim this is a man in a costume, but you have to ask yourself who would be foolish enough to walk with such slow, exposed confidence in a rural area where farmers are known to shoot intruders on sight. Woman turns into half cow in village square in India. In the digital age, we expect viral videos to be funny or shocking, but rarely do they feel like a medieval sentencing carried out in 4K resolution. This footage, circulating rapidly through social media in India, captures a scene that seems to belong to a different century entirely. The caption attached to the file serves as a grim warning. Woman transforms into a cow after sleeping with a married man. The setting is a dusty village square where a crowd has gathered not to help but to document a nightmare. Sitting in the dirt is a woman in a peach-colored sari, her upper body visibly human, her face buried in her hands in absolute shame. However, where her legs should be, the anatomy violates all laws of nature. Protruding from the hem of her skirt are the stark white legs of a cow ending in heavy cloven hooves, accompanied by a long, thin tail resting in the dust behind her. A man in ritualistic red attire circles her, shaking a gourd rattle, performing a ceremony that looks less like healing and more like a public binding. Skeptics rightfully point to the skirt line, the convenient boundary where the human body ends and the animal prosthetics likely begin. But even if this is a hoax, the intent is terrifying. In a patriarchal culture where the cow is sacred and female honor is heavily policed, this transformation is a weapon. It is a calculated visual brand of shame, designed to dehumanize a woman, quite literally reducing her to the status of an animal in the eyes of her community. Real life. Goblin filmed stealing chicken in rural farm. Any farmer will tell you that protecting livestock is a constant war against nature. Foxes, coyotes, and hawks are the usual suspects when a chicken goes missing. But the security footage captured on this rural property reveals a thief that doesn't belong in a biology textbook. It belongs in a book of dark fairy tales. In the middle of the day, walking along a dirt path inside the fence line, is a humanoid figure that matches the exact description of a goblin. The creature is incredibly diminutive, standing no taller than a preschooler, yet its proportions are distinctly non-human. It is bald, with pale grayish skin that appears thick and leathery, seemingly immune to the elements. The most disturbing features are the ears, massive, pointed, and extending horizontally from the skull, a detail that would require Hollywood-level prosthetics to fake effectively. It is dressed in ragged scraps of what looks like burlap and leather tied together with crude string. But the surreal part is its behavior. The creature is clutching a full-grown chicken against its chest with both arms, and the bird appears strangely calm. The entity doesn't run with the nervous energy of a thief. It waddles with a confident, flat-footed gait, barely glancing back. Skeptics insist this is a child in a costume, but the anatomy of the limbs and the seamless connection of the ears suggest something else. If it is a prank, it's an elaborate one. If not, the little people are real and they are hungry. Cow gives birth to two-headed mutant calf in rural Asia. We often look to nature for beauty and symmetry, but occasionally genetics make a mistake that is difficult to look at directly. In this unsettling footage recorded in a rural village in Asia, a black cow is seen performing the most natural maternal act, tenderly cleaning her newborn. But as the camera moves closer, the miracle of birth shifts into a spectacle of biological horror. The calf lying in the dirt is not a pair of twins. It is a single entity possessing one body and four legs, but two fully formed heads branching from the same neck. The mother seems completely unaware of the anomaly, licking the fur of both faces with equal affection, trying to stimulate a creature that defies the laws of survival. The calf itself appears heavy and lethargic, unable to lift the combined weight of two skulls. At one point, a human hand reaches down to lift one of the heads, marked with a distinct white blaze, while the other head lolls helplessly to the side eyes barely open. This condition, known as polycephaly, is a rare failure of embryonic separation. While locals in some regions worship such births as deities, the footage captures a sadder reality: a mother caring for a child born into a body that is biologically incapable of sustaining life. High-quality transformation of man into dog on street. Most cryptid footage is little more than blurry shadows in a dark forest, easy to dismiss as a trick of the light. But what happens when the impossible is recorded on a high-definition security camera on a well-lit street with nowhere to hide the edits? This famous clip is often dismissed by skeptics as CGI, but if you watch the mechanics of the transformation closely, the anatomical details are disturbingly visceral. A man walks down a quiet sidewalk late at night. His gait is casual normal. Then reality seems to break. He doesn't trip, his legs simply cease to function, and he collapses onto his knees with jarring force. He doesn't attempt to stand. Instead, his upper body folds violently forward, his hands slamming onto the concrete to brace for an internal catastrophe. Watch his spine in the few frames before the change completes. It doesn't just bend. It appears to ripple and compress, shortening in an instant as his pelvis shifts forward. His massive shoulders rotate inwards, dislocating from a human structure into a quadrupedal frame. The mass of his body seems to melt away, condensing rapidly. There is no smoke, no magical flash. It is a biological rearrangement that looks painfully fast. In less than 3 seconds, the human shape is gone, replaced instantly by the distinct silhouette of a medium-sized dark dog. The creature shakes itself off a natural animalistic reflex and trots away. The horror here isn't theatrical. It's the mundane simplicity. It's the realization that for a narwhal, shedding human skin isn't a ritual, it's just a reflex. The Triclops bull of India. In the complex spiritual ecosystem of India, the cow is already revered as sacred. But this specific specimen pushes the boundary between divinity and biological horror. Standing calmly in a rustic brick stable, the animal possesses the standard curved horns of its species, yet its forehead is dominated by a massive, singular pillar of bone. This third horn rises vertically like a heavy antenna, thick and blunt. But the most unsettling detail lies at the base, where the skin has split to form a vertical slit, resembling a third eye staring blindly forward. Locals immediately worship such creatures as the living incarnation of Lord Shiva, the three-eyed destroyer. However, a colder analysis suggests something far more calculated than a random genetic glitch. In rural areas where a miracle animal can turn a poor family into the keepers of a lucrative pilgrimage site, deformity becomes currency. This raises a disturbing possibility. Is this simply a rare natural occurrence of craniofacial duplication? Or is it the result of selective multi-generational inbreeding, designed to force this specific mutation into existence? We have to ask ourselves, did nature create this god by accident? Or did humans intentionally manufacture a monster just to make a profit from the faithful? The pale stalker in the Ohio cornfield. For those living in the American Midwest, the cornfield is a symbol of livelihood, but also of intense claustrophobia. In this unsettling image captured by a farmer in rural Ohio, the endless rows of green hide a secret that stands taller than any human should. While inspecting his crop, the landowner noticed a disturbance, not the rustling of wind, but a static pale anomaly breaking the uniform pattern of the stalks. Zooming in reveals a figure that triggers an immediate primal reaction. Peeking out from the dense vegetation is a humanoid entity with skin the color of dead ash, completely pale, hairless, and smooth. The most disturbing aspect is the scale. Mature corn in this region grows between 8 to 10 feet high. For this entity's head and shoulders to be clearly visible through the upper gaps, We must estimate its height to be conservatively between 7 and 8 feet. It is far too large to be a child and too pale to be a lost hiker. The figure remains perfectly still, blending with the light filtering through the leaves. This aligns with descriptions of the crawler, pale, emaciated humanoids of urban legend. Others suggest an extraterrestrial scout. Whatever it is, the farmer did not stay to verify. He left the field to the thing that claimed it, the pale intruder of Kentucky. A farm dog is the first line of defense against predators trained to corner coyotes or foxes. But in this security footage recorded inside a barn in rural Kentucky, the family's German Shepherd has cornered something that does not belong in the animal kingdom. The dog is seen barking, furiously snapping at the heels of a figure that is frantically scrambling up a wooden ladder to the loft. The intruder is undeniably humanoid but horrifyingly emaciated. It resembles a woman, yet the body is skeletal with ribs clearly visible beneath skin that is pale to the point of being translucent. Long, straight dark hair hangs down, completely obscuring the face, adding to the ghostly appearance. It wears only a dark loincloth, exposing a physique that looks starved yet agile enough to climb. The terror in the scene is palpable, but so is the controversy. Online analysts have flagged this video as a potential AI generation. They point to the unnatural smoothness of the creature's skin and the lighting consistency compared to the graininess of the barn surroundings. Is this a feral human living in the Appalachians caught stealing food, or is it a digital nightmare created to prey on our fear of the uncanny valley? The dog certainly seems to think it is real. The corn husk golem of Nebraska. In the endless expanse of Nebraska, the cornfield is a place where anything can hide. But this footage allegedly recorded by a farmer patrolling his perimeter captures a thief that seems to have been born from the crop itself. Standing at the edge of the harvest is a bipedal nightmare that blends terrifyingly well with its environment. The creature's camouflage is biological perfection. Its skin mimics the texture of dried corn husks, brown fibrous, and layered, making it nearly invisible against the stalks. It possesses a hunched, exposed spinal ridge, long, muscular limbs, and a thick tail that drags behind it. In one frame, it is even seen clutching a stolen ear of corn caught in the act of feeding. However, the horror is undermined by digital suspicion. Analysts point to the weapon in the foreground. It remains perfectly static with no natural sway from breathing or movement, suggesting it is a static image overlay rather than a real camera. Furthermore, the creature's motion is jerky and floats slightly above the ground. Is this a cryptid evolving to mimic our food supply? Or is it a high-quality AI generation designed to harvest views rather than crops? Two-headed, three-tongued cow, worshipped in India. In the spiritual heart of India, a birth defect is rarely seen as a mistake. It is often interpreted as a message. This unsettling footage introduces us to a black cow that has been elevated from livestock to living deity. Standing beside a painted statue draped in silver chains and bells, the animal presents a facial structure that defies symmetry. It is a case of extreme craniofacial duplication, often called diprosopis. The head has split during development, resulting in a widened skull with extra eyes and two distinct snouts fused into one mass. But the feature that mesmerizes and horrifies the crowd is the mouth. The jaw is a chaotic mass of flesh housing not one but 3 tongues, which loll uncontrollably as the creature attempts to breathe. While a veterinarian would see an animal struggling to perform basic biological functions, the locals see a holy omen. They do not turn away in disgust, they bow. It raises a complicated ethical question for the viewer. Is keeping this creature alive an act of extreme piety, or is it a cruel extension of suffering for the sake of a religious spectacle? The dog-headed horse of Texas. In the sprawling ranchlands of Texas, seeing a horse grazing is as common as seeing the sunrise. But this footage recorded from a passing vehicle forces us to slam on the brakes. At first glance, the animal appears to be a standard dark pony, its body muscular and its tail swishing naturally against the flies. However, as the animal lowers its neck to feed, the anatomy of the head becomes disturbingly wrong. It completely lacks the elongated, tapered snout of an equine. Instead, the profile is short, blunt, and distinctly canine. It looks like the heavy, blocky head of a large dog grafted seamlessly onto the neck of a horse. This biological impossibility raises a terrifying question about hybridization. In the natural world, chromosomal differences make a dog-horse crossbreed impossible. They are simply too far apart on the evolutionary tree. This leaves us with a darker reality. Is this a severe congenital deformity? Or are we looking at a chimera, a result of underground genetic splicing hiding in plain sight? If nature didn't build this creature, then we must ask which laboratory did. Glowing eyes, stalking farm, dog in West Virginia. In the deep woods of West Virginia, the tree line serves as a fragile border between civilization and the unknown. This chilling footage captured by a homeowner who heard their pets in distress at 3 a.m. reveals that the darkness is not empty, it is looking back. The camera pans across the rural yard past a small dog that stands frozen near the edge of the light, clearly sensing a predator it cannot see. In the distance, embedded deep within the dense foliage, are two distinct glowing orbs. These are not the low-set, frantic eyes of a raccoon or a coyote. The spacing between the pupils is disturbingly wide, suggesting a skull structure much broader than a human's. Even more alarming is the height. Based on the surrounding vegetation, this entity is staring from a vantage point at least 7 feet off the ground. The eyes do not blink or flinch at the flashlight. They maintain a cold, predatory fixity. Is this a massive black bear standing on its hind legs to investigate? Or is it a cryptid, perhaps a Sasquatch or dogman, silently marking its territory? The homeowner didn't wait to find out. They recalled the dog and locked the door, leaving the woods to the thing that owns them, the Bovine-swine hybrid in the woods. Nature usually respects the boundaries between species, but this footage from a dense forest suggests that those rules have been broken. Recorded by a startled hiker in a remote wooded area, the video features a massive quadruped that appears to be a biological collage. At a distance, the silhouette suggests a large bull possessing the heavy muscular frame and dark coat of standard livestock. However, the anatomical details are deeply wrong. The neck is incredibly thick, merging into a high-bristled spinal ridge that is characteristic of a wild boar. The horns curve upward, framing a face that looks like a blunt, heavy mix of both species. When the creature detects the human presence, its reaction is not bovine. It doesn't stare blankly. It turns with the explosive, frantic agility of a wild pig crashing through the underbrush to escape. Biologically, a natural hybrid between a cow and a boar is impossible due to chromosomal incompatibility. This leaves us with a disturbing conclusion. Either we are looking at a prehistoric survivor, like a wisent that has been misidentified, or we are witnessing the result of a genetic experiment that managed to escape the lab and find refuge in the wild. The giraffe-necked humanoid of Arkansas. In the dense cultivated timberlands of the Ozark National Forest in Arkansas, farmers are accustomed to seeing black bears or deer moving through the trees. But this footage captured by a landowner monitoring his property lines reveals a biological anomaly that defies categorization. Walking casually through the undergrowth is a bipedal figure that combines the anatomy of a primate with the proportions of an ostrich. The creature stands on 2 legs, possessing a dark, furry body that looks vaguely humanoid in its posture. However, the horror lies above the shoulders. Instead of a human head, the creature possesses an impossibly long, tubular neck, stretching perhaps 3 feet vertically topped with a small rounded head that swivels like a periscope. It doesn't hunch or prowl. It walks with an upright, eerie elegance, its head navigating the high branches, while its arms swing by its sides. Skeptics might argue this is an escaped exotic animal, perhaps a malnourished llama, or an emu seen from a distorted angle. But the arms are distinct, and the gait is far too human. Is this a hide-behind from American folklore come to life, or is it an evolutionary branch that nature intended to keep hidden in the deep woods? We used to think these were isolated incidents, glitches in the matrix confined to deep forests or forgotten towns. But the data tells a different story. These anomalies are no longer contained. From the cornfields of Ohio to the rural villages of India, these events are erupting simultaneously across the globe. It is a pandemic of the unexplained, and it is rapidly spiraling out of our control. Drop a comment below and tell us, where are you watching from? Which state, which country? Because as we've seen today, these creatures aren't just in stories, they might be in your own backyard.